Welcome to Alive and Well, the podcast for the new era of high achievers. You're done burning out, and you're ready to lead, work, and live in a rhythm that honors both your brilliance and your body. I'm your host, Michelle Grosser. I'm a trial attorney turned nervous system strategist, and I've lived the burnout story. I know what it's like to chase your goals at the expense of your well-being. And I also know it doesn't have to be that way. Here, we're redefining success. It's where productivity feels peaceful, boundaries feel like freedom, and energy comes from within. Each week, I'll share practical tools for nervous system regulation, time mastery, and somatic strategies so you can show up with clarity, calm, and confidence in every part of your life. Because you, my friend, were given a spirit of power, love, and a sound mind. So here's to life and living it fully. This is the path to feeling alive and well. Let's dive in. Hey, it's Michelle here. You're listening to Alive and Well. Today on the show, I'm super excited to share these techniques with you to help you release stress from your body. Here on the show, we talk a lot about the fact that stress isn't just what's happening in our heads, right? It's not just the thought loops. It's not just all the things we're carrying in the mental load. It's actually happening in our body. And we experience stress every single day, right? In some form or another. Sometimes it's just that low grade stress that's just kind of humming under the surface all day long. Sometimes it's something really big. But either way, every time we're interrupted, for me, that's one of my triggers when I'm trying to get something done and I'm just interrupted over and over and over. Every time you're trying even to transition between tasks or multitask, every responsibility you take on, every unspoken emotional load that you carry, it's all stress. And our nervous system responds to each one of these micro stressors, sometimes subtly, and sometimes it adds up and it's cumulative. And the way in which our body's communicating that to us feels pretty loud. So what does that mean? Because we know that stress is happening in our body, we cannot just think our way out of stress. Trust me, I have tried. So many of my clients have tried, right? I just need, a time management program. I just need a new planner. I just need a long weekend. I just need and all of those things are great, but they're not going to release stored stress that's in your body, right? In order for us to do that, we have to move it. We have to discharge it. We have to complete the stress cycle so it doesn't accumulate inside of our body and turn into allostatic load, which is that slow kind of steady wear and tear on our system that builds when our physiology never fully resets. So this is why I'm so passionate about somatic practices. It's why it matters to get out of our head and into our body. This isn't some trendy hack that I teach, right? These aren't soft. They're not extra things. They're working with your biology. They're how us humans are designed to resolve activation in our life. And without them, that stress gets stored. It gets stored in our muscles, in our fascia, in the way that we breathe, in the clenching of our jaw, right? In our gut. And it has nowhere to go except deeper if we don't have tools and techniques to release it. So what I want to do today is I want to walk you guys through 3 of my favorite somatic techniques for releasing stress from the body. They're simple, they're quick, they're really regulating, and they're the same techniques that I teach inside of my signature program, Burnout Recovery Blueprint. And inside of that program, you have access to over 40 guided somatic practices. I have a whole library for them for you to access in there, which is awesome. All right, so let's start with a little bit of the science, and then we'll go through each of these somatic techniques. So when we talk about the science, the truth, I think this is the truth that most of us were never taught growing up. The research is definitely there and it's growing. But this just wasn't what people talked about 20, 30, 40 years ago, right? We're not supposed to try to avoid all stress.
that in and of itself sounds really stressful to me, right? I always say, you guys have heard me say, life's going to keep on lifing. We are meant to experience stress. Some stress is actually really good for us. The issue, the problem, the challenge for most of us is that we don't know how to complete the stress cycle. So we get activated, right? And our body does what it needs to do for us to respond to a stressor. But then we don't know how to signal to our body like, hey, it's okay now, right? That's resolved. We can kind of come back to baseline stress level. We can relax. We can recharge. We can be present. So our body is built for stress. Your body is built for stress. What it's not built for is chronic, unresolved stress. When something happens, and it could be anything, right? We've talked about the different kinds of stressors. It could be a toddler meltdown. It could be your inbox that just is exploding. It could be an unexpected bill or a conversation you don't want to have, or just like holding too much open in your brain. When something stressful happens, your physiology shifts. What am I talking about? Well, your heart rate picks up, right? Your muscles might tense or tighten. Your breathing changes. Your vigilance changes. So like what you're focusing on and paying attention to, that increases. Your cortisol rises. All of this is normal. But what's not normal is never coming back down from that activation. And that's what most of us do, right? Not because we're necessarily doing something wrong, but because the pace and the pressure of our lives never truly allows us to pause long enough to allow our nervous system to complete that stress cycle. So our stress chemistry stays in the body, and then tomorrow and the day after and next week, more stress stacks on top of yesterday's unresolved stress, and it just keeps compounding. And that's allostatic load. Allostatic load impacts everything. It impacts your mood, your patience, your clarity, your digestion, your sleep, your hormones, your energy, even your ability to feel joy, right? We talked about that in the last episode. And it's why somatic practices are so essential, because they create this deliberate pattern interrupt. It's this doorway out, right? We're like opening this door out of survival physiology and back to a place where we feel safe and present and steady. These tools give your body a way out. So as we go into these 3 practices together today, this isn't about calming down, right? It's not like, oh, I have the tools Michelle taught me so I can calm down when I'm stressing out and losing my ever-loving mind. No. It's just about helping your nervous system activate and respond when it's appropriate and necessary, but then also have a way, tools, mechanisms to signal to your body, come back down to baseline. It's okay, right? That thing has passed. We've dealt with it. We're actually safe. Okay, so let's go through these 3 techniques. We're going to start with one of my favorites. If you guys have come to any of my workshops, if you've already done Burnout Recovery Blueprint, if you've worked with me one-on-one or in any other container, you know I go to this all the time. And this first somatic practice I want to teach you or talk to you about is shaking. It's so simple. Is it slightly awkward? Maybe at first, but it's so freaking effective. Shaking is one of the most primal, instinctive ways that our body releases built up activation. I mean, think about an animal, right? Think about even like a dog. After a threat passes, maybe you've seen a dog, chase after something. What does it do right after? It like trembles, right? It shakes it off. It's not that the dog is not scared. It's that the dog knows physiologically how to complete the stress cycle. And we are the same. We have the same mechanism. We've just been socialized out of it. So to do this, you're literally just shaking, right? Wherever you're at, if you can, like stand up, kind of soften your knees and just start kind of like bouncing and shaking. You can gently start shaking your hands, shaking your arms, shaking your shoulders, your torso, letting your breath get a little bigger. Bonus points if you put a smile on your face. It's not about a perfect sequence. It's not like a choreography you have to learn. It's just letting your body move the way that it wants to move, following your body's natural impulses to move and release stress. And this is so simple. You guys put on your favorite song. Halfway through the song, a minute and a half, you're going to notice a shift. And it works because shaking actually discharges sympathetic activation. What does it mean? It means that when we're feeling wired or braced, or we're really worried about something, or we're stuck in our head, or we're on alert, shaking discharges that activation. It releases these micro contractions that are stored in our muscles. Because think about it. When we're scared or nervous or anxious or startled, what do? We tense, right? Everything tenses up. So shaking releases those micro contractions in our body, and it interrupts all of those bracing patterns in our body's fascia, and it releases our brain from constant monitoring and scanning and planning and anticipating. And it really signals to our system like, stressor's over, we're safe again. And it's one of the somatic tools, especially in our live calls inside of Burnout Recovery Blueprint. We meet every week. We start with somatic practices and tools, and we will probably always start with some version of shaking before I bring you into different breathwork practices or body-based movements and tapping and things like that, because it's so effective to just start to tell our nervous system like, hey, let's release all of this tension. We're actually okay. There's nothing to be bracing for right now. And it's fast and it's freeing and it works at every level of the nervous system. And I love it. I shake every day. Okay. The second one I want to talk to you guys about, this is also one of my favorites, progressive muscle relaxation. So we will go from the movement of shaking to very intentional tension and release. Progressive muscle relaxation is probably one of the most powerful ways to interrupt chronic tension, that bracing. So if you are listening to this and you have been dealing with jaw tension, tightness in your neck, shoulders, back, lower back pain, headaches, a clenched like tight pit in your stomach kind of feeling, you're likely walking around with layers of unresolved activation stored inside of your muscles. And it's really hard when we feel super tense. Like maybe you're someone who clenches your jaw, or you carry a lot of tension in your neck and shoulders, or you know what I'm talking about when I'm talking about that tightness in your stomach. It's really hard to just sit here and like tell our neck and shoulders to just release all that tension. It's hard to do that. Sometimes it's easier when we actually intentionally tense those muscles and then release it. So that's exactly what we do with progressive muscle relaxation. You just take one area of your body. So maybe it is your jaw and all your face muscles, right? And you tense those muscles, and then like you can do it now as long as you're not driving, or maybe tense another part of your body if you need to see where you're going. But try it now. Just slowly squeeze those muscles, every muscle in your face, your jaw, clench, push your tongue up to the roof of your mouth, right? Maybe you want to squeeze your hands and your arms and bring your shoulders up by your ears and hold it, squeeze, and then release it. Take a big deep breath. You can roll that out, maybe do some big neck circles or stretch out your mouth wide open, stick out your tongue. You're not tensing to the point of pain. You're just tensing enough to feel that squeeze, right? Feel that contraction and then releasing it. And your body is going to be feeling the difference between tension and letting go. And then you can like go through your whole body, right? You can start with maybe your face and then go down to your neck and shoulders, really work on your jaw. Maybe you work on your legs, your thighs, your glutes, your feet, like whatever it is. But as you release each area, you're going to kind of picture that part of your body just dropping a little lower into baseline. And it works because as we intentionally tense and release these muscles, you're communicating with your brain through what we call mechanoreceptors. You're basically reminding your body that it doesn't need to hold everything, not all at once. And you're activating the parasympathetic branch of your nervous system. And that kind of like your body's exhale, right? The rest and settle pathway. And you're widening your window of tolerance in real time. And women inside of Burnout Recovery Blueprint tell me that just this work, the progressive muscle relaxation, especially in that time before bed, helps them sleep better and feel so much more emotionally steady because it's teaching your nervous system what letting go actually feels like. So It can be really subtle. For me, I actually notice it in the moment. Like it's actually it's not subtle for me. Like I'm like, oh wow, I feel the shift. And it's really profound, but it's simple. And then the third one I want to share with you, this is also another one I get really excited about, is heel drops. It's grounding. It's energizing. It's so effective for discharging stored tension. I really love this because I tend to carry my anxiety in my chest, right? It kind of feels like this heavy weight on my chest when I'm feeling anxious. And when I do heel drops, this is how it works. It works by sending these small vibrations up through our skeleton into our tissues and then across our whole fascia network. So here's how to do it. You just stand, right? Just stand up, and then you're going to lift your heels off the ground, kind of like you're going to stand on your tiptoes. And then you let your heels drop, hence the name, heel drops. But you're going to let them like thud to the ground. So up on your toes and then thud down. And doing that for, 30 seconds, 45 seconds, the impact when you let your heels thud into the ground, that vibration travels up through your legs and into your body. And when you're doing it, right, over and over for a minute or so, it's gentle, it's rhythmic, it's almost like a pulse. Your nervous system loves this. Heel drops activate what we call our proprioceptive system. It's just a part of our nervous system that tells our brain where we are in space, right? Like the mechanics of our body. What's our posture like? What is the position of our limbs? All of that sensory input it makes our nervous system feel so safe. It's deeply regulating. And then with that thud, it also discharges tension that we store in our calves, in our pelvic floor, in our lower back, all of these areas that carry stress quietly. And it interrupts our mental loops and spiraling, because that impact, every time we go up and then thud down onto our heels, it brings our awareness back into our body. So this is another practice that's inside of the Burnout Recovery Blueprint library. I use it constantly. I use it in between tasks. I use it when I feel anxiety starting to creep up, or stress or overwhelm. I use it before meetings. I use it in the bathroom, like before I have to come back out and handle whatever's being asked of me. Whenever I feel mentally overloaded, I come to these because they're quick and they're grounding and they're surprisingly releasing. So those are the three I have for you today. But I want you to take this from today's episode. And I think this is like the bigger picture here, is that stress isn't always the enemy, right? The issue is that when we have stress that is stuck and stored in our body that has no way of discharging and releasing. And as women who have a lot on our plate, our goal isn't to eliminate stress. One, that's ridiculous and impossible. But second, like, I want to live this big life. I want to have these responsibilities, right? I want to be able to take care of my workplace and my kids and my home and all the things. I just want to have the capacity to do it without it stressing me out. So the idea here is to give our body a consistent way to discharge stress so it doesn't accumulate in our system. Shaking, progressive muscle relaxation, heel drops, so many more practices inside of Burnout Recovery Blueprint. They're simple, they're accessible, they're powerful. And when you use them consistently, you guys, they really do lower your baseline stress load. They will widen your window of tolerance and ultimately just help you create more space for the good things that you want to experience in life, right? Being present with your family and your people, joy, clarity, all of this goodness. And inside of Burnout Recovery Blueprint, you get access to that full Somatic playlist library. I have over 40 guided practices with audio and video and instructions and explanations, so you know exactly when to use each one, because this nervous system work that we do together on the podcast here, in real life, inside of Burnout Recovery Blueprint, this isn't theory. I want you guys to actually practice this, live this, embody this. And if you're listening to this in real time in January, the first couple weeks, I guess, on January 8th and January 9th, I am hosting a live workshop, but I'm calling it Experience the Shift exactly because of that. I think we're so good at gathering information, at understanding what's going on in our body, at understanding what would help. But where we struggle is actually putting it into practice, right? The taking of the action. So I don't want to just come at you with more information all the time, because that's not how we experience growth and transformation and regulation in our nervous system. We have to actually do the dang thing. So keep an eye out for that. I'm going to open registration for that workshop next week. It's free. I'm doing one at noon on Thursday, Central Time. And then I'm doing one in the evening, if that time works better for you, on Friday night. So it's going to be the same exact content. You can choose which one works better for you and your schedule. And I'm not going to do a ton of teaching. I'm not going to do a ton of coaching as far as like helping you to understand what's going on in your body. I'm going to actually guide you through a somatic flow, because I want you, one, we've all just been through the holidays. Again, if you're listening to this in real time, stress is accumulating, and I want you to experience the shift, hence the name. I want you to notice what it feels like to be tense and holding all of this stress, and then what it feels like to actually start to release and move so much of this, and feel your body shift back to a state of regulation, right? Back to that rest and digest place where you have access to all of these beautiful parts of your brain, where you can show up really grounded and centered and present, and, all the places where we want to spend most of our time. So keep an eye out for that. I'll be talking about it on the podcast more next week. I'll be shooting out emails about it. So you can register and just save your spot. And I'd love to have you there. I think it's the perfect post-holiday practice to give your body some tools that it can really use. Okay. Thank you so much for being with me today. I love y'all so much. I'll talk to you soon.
If you love Mommy's Polygraphs, leave a review.
Thanks for listening to Alive and Well. If today's episode resonated, would you do me a favor? Take 30 seconds and leave a 5-star rating and short review. It really helps to get this show out to other people just like you who could also use the information in this podcast. And if you're ready to take the next step in regulating your nervous system, download my free Nervous System Reset Guide. It's linked right in the show notes. Inside, you'll find simple, body-based practices to help you feel more clear, calm, and connected starting today. Make sure you're following the show so you don't miss out on what's coming next, because you were made to thrive. Fully alive, fully present, and fully well. I'll see you soon.